Lukey, would you like to smile at the camera and wave and say hello to everyone? Okay, over the years through the NDIS, it has been a massive struggle to get funding for music therapy, which is pretty much the only therapy that approaches Luke holistically and then works very closely with his goals and what we're trying to achieve, and a very close dialogue with the primary carer and the family to make sure that this particular person is working towards where they need to go, but they also need to have this constant dialogue about every single detail about that person's life and why they are there at certain points in their time. This is the only therapy that works for the guy, and it's extremely disappointing that if this is cut to support worker rates, we're going to lose so much out of the system, and the people with the more complex needs are going to be so lost because they won't be able to be reached, and nobody will be able to move them forward. Okay, so actually this is a very civilized Luke. When Luke first started music therapy quite a long time ago, he would sit completely folded up on the ground, did not want to engage with anybody, was totally introverted, had lost all his communication. He was aged 13 when this actually happened. We only discovered music therapy when he was 20. And there was this total withdrawal from the world, did not want to do anything with anyone, did not even want to talk to anybody, shake anybody's hand, say anything. So over time, as we progressed through music therapy, we have ended up with a very civilized young man who's actually working towards very sensible goals. In at school, he totally disengaged too. There was no education. You don't want me to say that? Keep talking? Okay. And then at school, which was not his favourite place, so when we discovered music therapy, it was the funnest way to start engaging and starting to learn and make progress and socialise, because the damage and the trauma he'd suffered through his school years was huge. And also as a child, as a little baby from 6 weeks old, he was having trauma, medical trauma, because he wears prosthetics and he had to have his eyes changed. So we had this really deep-seated trauma and this total disengagement. And now we're here, he's 35, in a different place. And music therapy has been amazing because it's helped him work through a lot of stuff in a non-judgmental, fun way. It's taught him how to express himself and actually is meeting people, shaking hands, standing up straight, smiling inappropriately, and you can put him in front of a camera. He'll take very good photographs. Go on, show us your smiley face. So in terms of music therapy for Luke and goals, when we first joined music therapy, the thing was to try and get him to communicate. But Luke could not even communicate because he breathed the wrong way. He breathed in. And you're like, but Luke, we need you to breathe out to make any sound. And you just stand there and start hyperventilating like this. And you're like, you can't do that. We have to get you to breathe the right way. So that's what music therapy did. We stood there and laboriously worked over how to breathe the right way, how to take your breath in and then exhale very slowly. So that was such a fundamental goal we had to work to. Like we were starting way behind any regular persons. And music therapy was the first thing that broke down the barriers that's helped him start to re-engage with the world, which was the key thing. If you can't engage with the world, and you don't want to go out, and you don't want to learn anything, and you don't want to touch anything, and you don't want to speak to anybody, how are you ever going to be part of the world? A lot of psychological knowledge, a lot of experience of our fabulous music therapist to be able to work out what he needed to do to get to where he needed to go. And it's done over a long time, and it's done very slowly, because everybody who has very complex needs, you can't just go, bam, do it, that's it. You'll achieve that goal. It just doesn't work like that. And a lot of patience and a lot of breaking down of the goals to actually use those steps to build upon them. And not anyone can do that. We need the medium of music to get our people and our loved ones to where they need to go. We could go to mainstream psychologists and go, okay, it's a talk fest, let Luke talk, and talk about his feelings. That is just doomed to disaster from the beginning. My biggest fear was he was going to go backwards once his grandparents passed away. They were very pivotal in his life, and he was very, very close to them. And we were blessed to have them live to be 90. But when they both passed away, it was right. One was in COVID, and the other one was after COVID. But the biggest concern was I could not stand by and watch him regress again, as he'd done in the past when other key extended family members had died. That we had this massive implosion, mental health implosion, and this anxiety that he wouldn't go back out and do anything again and retreat it back into himself. So I approached Azumi with music therapy and said, look, we really need to address this problem before it becomes a massive problem. So we actually set on a strategy, which was like under his communication goals and self-expression, to make sure that he could express himself and his grief. And that was done very slowly by choosing a melody with Azumi, and then working on the lyrics together to express how he felt about his grandparents. And then he worked through that over like 2 years, which is like a grief journey. And then he was like, okay, I can move on. And he was very calm and settled through that whole thing. Otherwise, we would have had massive behavior problems, massive anxiety problems, and a massive like regression. So in conclusion, music therapy is really, really critical to people with very, very complex needs and who will not actually fit in the mainstream therapies. And they're very complex, and they need a really very knowledgeable people who know how to reach through in a fun, non-judgmental way, and a very skilled way with a deep knowledge of what people require, and to be able to read that particular person non-verbally about their needs, and then have great teamwork with the carers and parents to have them understand, like move our loved ones through to different goals to reach to where they need to be. Without music therapy, they would not be functioning people, and they'd just be curled up in the corner doing nothing. The end. And we kept saying to our LICs, it works. Please don't give us any money for anything else. If you really want music therapy in our plan, please give it back to us again. Agree, Lou? Do you agree?
Wonderful.
Yes? Yes. We would love for the Minister for the NDIS or his assistants or whoever's his replacement, and the CEO of the NDIA to come and visit a music therapy session, because it would be wonderful for you to sit in and watch how much this works and how well it works. You're more than welcome to come and visit Luke and my session, or Luke and his support worker sessions. It's great. Do you want to smile and say thanks? Say thanks.